Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The photograph, taken in the United States during the 1950s, shows young patients using the iron lung, a medical device designed to assist breathing. This mechanical device worked by creating negative pressure around the body, allowing air to enter and leave the lungs in a controlled way. It was used mainly to treat people affected by poliomyelitis who had breathing difficulties. The photograph shows people using the cangu, a wooden device fastened to the neck that was used in China during different historical periods as a form of public punishment. The scene, recorded at an unspecified time, presents individuals positioned in an open area, wearing simple clothing and observed by other people nearby. The cangue restricted movement and made walking difficult, also serving as an instrument of public exposure. The photograph is part of a series recorded by physician Harvey Cushing, considered one of the pioneers of neurosurgery in the early 20th century. The images portray patients who underwent brain surgery, documenting their expressions, scars, and postoperative outcomes as part of medical studies. These photos were used for scientific and teaching purposes, helping to record advances in the field of medicine. The photograph is part of a series recorded by physician Harvey Cushing, considered one of the pioneers of neurosurgery in the early 20th century. The images show patients who underwent brain procedures, documenting their recovery and expressions as part of a clinical study. These records were used for research and teaching, helping to develop new surgical techniques and broaden medical knowledge. The photograph, taken in 1936, shows a migrant farm worker beside his wife and their 10 children. The family, originally from Oklahoma, had worked as tenant farmers before deciding to move to California in search of better opportunities. The scene was recorded during the period of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, when thousands of families left the central regions of the United States because of economic hardship and severe weather conditions. The photograph, taken in 1917, shows a young soldier beside his mother shortly before leaving to serve in the First World War. He wears a full uniform, while she, in simple clothing and with a restrained expression, holds his arm in a gesture of affection and farewell. The setting appears to be the yard or the front of a house, reinforcing the intimate nature of the moment. The photograph, taken in 1933, shows a test carried out to demonstrate the stability of London's famous double-decker buses. In the experiment, the vehicle is tilted sideways to a steep angle, proving that the center of gravity and the body design prevent it from tipping over easily. Technicians and observers follow the procedure, which was part of a campaign to reinforce public confidence in the transport. The photograph, taken on April 18, 1923, shows the opening day of Yankee Stadium in New York City during the team's first home game against the Boston Red Sox. The stadium, built to accommodate the growing popularity of baseball, featured grandstands that were spacious and modern for the time. The image captures fans filling the rows and the field ready to host the historic game. The photograph, taken in 1949, shows the process of selecting an actor to portray Adolf Hitler in a new historical film produced in England. The record captures the moment when costumed candidates undergo acting tests and visual comparison with the figure to be portrayed. The production was part of a post-war cinematic movement in which works sought to depict recent events for the public. The photograph, taken in 1913, shows a group of soldiers performing a tactical maneuver during the Mexican Revolution. They are positioned close to the ground, using the terrain and natural barriers for protection as they advance. The record captures a moment of organization and discipline in the field, reflecting combat and movement methods employed at the time. The photograph, taken in 1924, shows the Canadian ice hockey team scoring a goal against the United States during the first Winter Olympic Games, held in Chamonix, France. At the recorded moment, it is possible to see players gathered near the net as the puck crosses the goal line in front of the American goalkeeper's attempt to make a save. The scene conveys the intensity and dynamism of the match. The photograph, taken during the opening ceremony of the 1960 Summer Olympic Games in Rome, shows the moment when a protest occurred related to the participation of Taiwan. The demonstration happened because the International Olympic Committee determined that the delegation compete under the name Formosa instead of Republic of China. The episode drew the attention of the public and the press present in the stadium. The photographic composition presents side by side Pablo Picasso's first self-portrait, made in 1896 when the artist was 15 years old, and his last self-portrait, created in 1972 at 90 years old. The first work, in a realistic style, reflects Picasso's early technical mastery, while the last, with expressive lines and striking colors, demonstrates the creative freedom and evolution of his artistic language. Between these two works, Picasso produced approximately 50,000 pieces, including paintings, sculptures, ceramics, and drawings. The photograph, taken in 1985, shows artist Andy Warhol creating a portrait of singer Debbie Harry using the Pro Paint program on an Amiga 1000 computer. The scene took place during the Amiga launch event at Lincoln Center in New York City and highlighted the advanced graphic capabilities of the equipment for that time. Warhol, known for exploring new media, demonstrated to the public how digital technology could be applied to art. The photograph, taken in 1956, shows a section of the famous canals of Venice, Italy, emptied for cleaning and maintenance work. With the water drained, it is possible to see the bed of the canal and parts of the foundations of historic buildings that are normally submerged. Workers use hand tools and simple equipment to remove sediment and carry out structural repairs. The photograph, taken in 1913, shows two engineers standing before the enormous gates of the Panama Canal locks, still in their final phase of construction. The metal structures, with impressive dimensions, were designed to allow the passage of large vessels between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The image conveys the monumental scale of the engineering project, one of the most ambitious of the early 20th century. The photograph, taken in 1929, shows the interior of Grand Central Terminal in New York City, with beams of sunlight streaming through the tall windows and illuminating the great main concourse. At the time, the area around the station did not have so many skyscrapers, allowing natural light to enter strongly and create a striking effect on the marble floor. Passengers and passers-by walk through the space, composing a vibrant scene of urban daily life. The photograph, taken in June 1917, shows young men registering for mandatory military service in New York City, United States, during the First World War. The scene presents long lines formed in front of an official building, with the men dressed according to the fashion of the time, waiting their turn to fill out documents and receive instructions. The photograph shows aviation pioneer Glenn Curtiss beside Lieutenant John Towers, posing with an aircraft designed by the Curtiss Aeroplane Company. The model, characteristic of the early 20th century, features a biplane structure with wings supported by cables and an open fuselage. This type of airplane was used both for experiments and for military and training applications. The photograph, taken in 1961, shows the three-eyed TV monster, a device created by Ulysses Sanabria that allowed simultaneous display on 2 or 3 screens. The unusual design featured multiple monitors integrated into a single structure, making it possible for different programs or angles to be viewed at the same time. The invention reflected the era's interest in innovations in home entertainment and broadcast technology. The photograph, taken in 1922, shows young inventor H. Day, 18 years old, wearing a pair of headphones connected to a radio hidden under his top hat. The ingenious device allowed broadcasts to be picked up without the equipment being visible, demonstrating the creativity and experimental spirit of the time. The formal attire contrasts with the improvised technology, creating a curious and innovative scene for the early 20th century. The photograph, taken in 1924, shows a human chess match held in Leningrad in the then Soviet Union. In the event, people represented the pieces on the board, moving according to the announced plays while the audience watched from stands set up around it. The giant board was installed outdoors, creating a spectacle that combined sport, culture, and entertainment. The photograph, taken in the 1950s, shows a passenger enjoying breakfast served in bed during a KLM flight. The cabin features seats that could be fully reclined and converted into beds with impeccably arranged bedding. The meal, served on a tray with dishes and metal cutlery, reflects the standard of luxury service that characterized air travel at the time. The photograph, dated around 1874, shows the interior of the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library in the United States. The space is characterized by rows of cast-iron alcoves that served as shelves and dividers for the books, creating an imposing and organized structure. Natural light enters through large windows, highlighting the breadth of the hall and the richness of architectural details of the time. The photograph, taken in 1959, shows a vibrant view of Las Vegas, Nevada, during the height of its expansion as a tourist and entertainment destination. Streets lit by neon signs display advertisements for casinos, hotels, and musical shows, reflecting the city's flashy and characteristic style. Automobiles of the time move along the main avenue while pedestrians walk among the bright facades. The photograph shows John Lennon in his attic, holding a Rolleiflex camera, a classic model widely used by professional photographers and enthusiasts in the mid-20th century. He wears a pin with the phrase, "Still love the Beatles," showing affection for the group that made him world famous, even in his solo career phase. The surroundings are simple and intimate, reinforcing the personal character of the recorded moment. The photograph, taken in 1986, shows artist Dario Campanile beside his painting that would become the basis for the update of the Paramount Pictures logo. The work, created with traditional techniques, portrays the iconic mountains surrounded by a vibrant sky and the ring of stars, elements that were already part of the studio's visual identity. The new design was commissioned to modernize the brand while maintaining its classic character. The photograph, taken in the summer of 1955, shows Marilyn Monroe at an important transitional moment in her career. During this period, she was involved with the Actors Studio in New York City, seeking to refine her acting skills and secure more challenging roles. The image captures her iconic look, with her characteristic blonde hairstyle and clothing that reflected the elegant and relaxed fashion of the time. The photograph, taken in 1962, shows Italian actress Sophia Loren pressing her handprints and footprints into the sidewalk cement at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, California. This tradition, reserved for artists of great prominence, symbolizes the recognition of her international success in cinema. Loren, wearing an elegant outfit, takes part in the event smiling, surrounded by photographers and admirers. The photograph, taken in the late 1960s, shows Debbie Harry still young, before achieving international fame as the lead singer of the band Blondie. She appears with a look characteristic of the time, with hairstyle and clothing that reflect the fashion trends of the period. The record captures a moment in her life before stardom, revealing traits of her personality and style that would later become notable in her artistic career. The photograph, taken in 1960, shows Muhammad Ali, then still competing under his birth name Cassius Clay, celebrating a victory in the ring. The celebratory pose captures the moment of confidence and energy right after the end of the bout, symbolizing the beginning of a path that would lead him to become one of the greatest names in the history of boxing. The record presents details of the sports attire and the competition setting. The photograph, taken in 1952, shows a winter landscape in the state of Idaho, United States. The scene presents streets, houses, and trees covered by a thick layer of snow, while the overcast sky reinforces the cold atmosphere. People and vehicles move carefully, adapting to the harsh conditions typical of the season in the region. The photograph, taken in 1964, shows Austrian soldiers carrying snow to the courses in Innsbruck, Austria, during the Winter Olympic Games. Because of the shortage of natural snow and ice that year, it was necessary to transport the material from other areas so that the competitions could proceed normally. The military, equipped with shovels and sleds, helped distribute the snow along the routes. The photograph shows a crowd gathered on the pier to witness the arrival of American athletes by boat to the city of Stockholm, Sweden. The event took place during an official reception, with people positioned along the waterfront to watch the vessel approach. The scene reflects the atmosphere of anticipation and celebration that accompanied the arrival of sports delegations at international competitions in the early 20th century. The photograph, taken in the 1870s, shows a scene in Egypt during a period when the country was undergoing changes connected to the growth of international trade and the modernization of its cities. The record may include historic buildings, open-air markets, or landscapes along the Nile River, elements that reflected both the ancient cultural heritage and the changes introduced in the 19th century. The photograph, taken in 1975, shows a Civil Guard volunteer in Tel Aviv checking her equipment at the police station located on Dizengoff Street. The moment reflects the routine of preparation and organization of the group, which operated in support of local security forces. In the background, it is possible to see part of the internal structure of the police post and typical elements of the city's urban environment in that period. The photograph, taken in the 1920s, shows a group of people learning to swim with the assistance of instructors. Some participants use floats or wooden supports, resources common at the time to help with balance and flotation. The lesson takes place in calm water, probably in a pool or a designated area of a lake, while onlookers watch from the shore. The photograph shows an improvised radio station set up inside the St. Moritz Hotel to broadcast coverage of the Games. The space was adapted with tables, microphones, headphones, and recording equipment, allowing journalists and technicians to follow the competitions in real time. This temporary structure demonstrated the creativity and speed needed to deliver information to the public. The photograph shows the Great Ball Court of Chichen Itza, located on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Considered the largest and most famous ball court in the Maya world, it measures about 551 feet in length and 230 feet in width. The tall, ornate side walls still preserve reliefs that depict scenes related to the ceremonial game practiced in antiquity. The photograph shows the Temple of the Sun, located at the archaeological site of Palenque in the state of Chiapas, Mexico. Built by the Maya civilization during the Classic period, the temple is part of the group known as the Cross Group, characterized by its stepped architecture and stone inscriptions that preserve historical and religious accounts. The structure is dedicated to solar deities and displays details that demonstrate the high level of skill of Maya builders. The photograph shows stelae located at the archaeological site of Quirigua in Guatemala. Carved in stone, the piece is one of the most notable monuments of Maya art and is believed to portray Chan-Yopat, an 8th century ruler. The stela features detailed inscriptions and reliefs that record important political and ceremonial events of his reign. The photograph, taken in 1905, shows French sculptor Auguste Rodin in his studio beside one of the versions of his most famous work, The Thinker. The setting is filled with tools, molds, and other sculptures, revealing the artist's creative process. The piece, originally sculpted at the end of the 19th century, represents a seated male figure with his chin resting on his hand in a contemplative posture. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.